Just in time for Halloween, Haunting starring Polterguy is a 1993 comedy horror game for the Sega Genesis that I have no idea how I acquired as a kid. It was never a popular game. I don't personally know anyone who's played it still, to this day. Maybe I found it in a bargain bin somewhere at Babbage's or Walden Software or some other store that completely dates me. I'll never know. What I do know is it was cool as hell for the time. The story goes like this. Your character, a rebellious punk rocker looking dude named Polterguy, gets in a fatal accident while on a defective skateboard created by a businessman named Vito Sardini. And as a ghost, you make it your life's or unlife's mission to absolutely torment the shit out of him and his family. That's pretty much it. And the only reason I know even that much of the story is because I did a Google search. Because in the game, when Polterguy finally starts explaining what happened to him, he stops mid-dialogue so he can continue torturing the Sardinis. Gotta admire his work ethic. Gameplay involves floating around, possessing a wide variety of objects, drop-kicking demon heads, and casting the occasional spell until every member of the family runs screaming out the door in terror, which is then celebrated with a fuck you dance. Once all the family is out, you follow them to their new home and repeat the process. There are 4 houses in total, and a creepy boss fight at the end. There are also sections where you run out of ectoplasm, which is basically your energy source, and have to traverse the underworld to collect more before you can return to the land of the living. Like a lot of games from that era, it's a short experience if you manage to beat it, but if you're new to the game, it might take you a couple tries to get the hang of it. I don't remember beating the game as a kid, but I aced it my first time now as a grown-ass adult pretty easily. So I'd say the difficulty for most people is somewhere around low to medium, but results may vary. But beating the game isn't really the fun part of Haunting. It's watching all the clever, spooky animations of objects you possess and the reactions of the family. I really loved watching all these as a kid. The whole game's aesthetic just screams 90s horror, and it was also quite bloody for the time. Though the gameplay is rather simple overall and can get tedious, these animations help keep things interesting. Most of the time, possession involves jumping in and out of an object, which essentially activates it, and when a family member approaches, it'll automatically trigger, but sometimes you'll also control the object, like an airplane or severed hand. It takes a lot to freak these guys out, and your ecto energy is constantly depleting, so if you want to win, you'll be bouncing all over the place trying to do as much as possible before you return to the underworld. Once there, the game essentially becomes an action platformer of sorts as you're running and jumping, dodging enemies and traps, and collecting ecto drops. You'll also get some spell drops and a couple big green health pickups later in the game, which are crucial to your survival. The underworld is where you can actually take damage, and once your health is all gone, that's it. Game over, and it's back to the beginning you go. There are no continues, no saves, no passwords. If you're emulating the game, this isn't an issue, as you can just save state wherever you want, but if you're a purist like me who likes to play on original hardware hooked up to a CRT television, you might want to set aside an hour or 2 of your time for this one, or just keep the Genesis running, as was customary for the time. One clever little mechanic I appreciated was the family dog, which makes you lose ecto as it barks, while simultaneously calming family members. Most of the time it'll just run out of the room before it becomes a real problem, but you do get a spell that basically shuts it up. You'll also get a spell where you can possess a family member and use them to scare another, which is pretty amusing. And that's really about it. Even though Haunting came out in 1993, aside from a few kinda sorta but not really similar games, there hasn't been anything like it since, which is a shame. There's so much clever stuff here that could be expanded on in a sequel or a remake. More wronged characters to play, more families to haunt, different environments, spells, etc. As it stands, Haunting, starring Polterguy, is a simple but fun hour or 2 of your time, and shares good company with a plethora of other memorable one-and-done games from that era. Happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.